Using Minecraft to explain Kafka is, I'll admit, an embarrassing idea. Not because it's intrinsically wrong, but because Kafka would have hated it. He spent his whole life trying to describe a world that resists easy explanation. And here I am, using a game where you punch trees to understand him. He would have found this humiliating. Although, well, he found most things humiliating. Anyway, if you need to pass an exam, or you just want to understand why so many people walk around calling things Kafkaesque, and you have no idea why or what it means, this is for you. Kafkaesque. Everyone uses this word, and you don't know why. Someone gets stuck in a phone queue for 3 hours trying to cancel their internet subscription, and they say, this is so Kafkaesque. And fine, that's not entirely wrong, but it misses most of what Kafka was trying to say. Kafka wasn't primarily a writer about bureaucracy, which he was in a way, but also not. You might think so from his literature, from books like The Trial in the Castle, because of the insurance office he worked in for most of his life. But Kafka wasn't really writing about paperwork. That would be a simplistic way of looking at it. He was writing about what it feels like to exist, to be a person who keeps trying to make sense of a world that has no interest in being sensible. Let's say that bureaucracy is just the beautiful dress of this beautiful girl, but what truly makes her beautiful was never the dress. It's what lies beneath it, something more complicated than a simple piece of fabric and much closer to home. Kafka believed, or at least his work expresses, that the world is fundamentally opaque. Not cruel, not fair, not unfair, just opaque. You cannot know the rules, you cannot find the person in charge, you cannot reach the end, and the worst part is that this is not a temporary problem you will eventually solve. It is the permanent condition of being alive. He was influenced by Kierkegaard, by Jewish theological thought, by his genuinely terrible relationship with his father, a man so overwhelming that Kafka wrote him a 45-page letter he never sent. But the core idea is simple. You are a person trying to get somewhere, and the world will not tell you how. Once you accept that, the question Kafka is really asking becomes clear. So, how do you live? This is where Minecraft comes in, and I think it actually works, which surprised me. You know the feeling of spawning into a new Minecraft world for the first time? No map, no tutorial. No one tells you that you need to build a shelter before night falls, or that the green things explode, or that there is a dragon at the end that you are apparently supposed to fight. You figure it all out by dying, mostly. The world doesn't explain itself to you, it just exists. Indifferent, enormous, and full of rules you have to discover through failure. That is Kafka's world. His characters, Joseph K in the trial, K in the castle. They are all fresh spawns. They wake up and something has already gone wrong. Joseph K is arrested without being told what he did. K is trying to reach a castle that keeps turning out to be further away than it looked. They spend the entire story trying to understand the rules of the game, and the game never explains them. There is no wiki, there is no option menu, there is just the world and the fact that you are in it. There are 3 structures that appear again and again in Kafka's works, and all 3 exist in Minecraft if you look for them. The first is the unreachable authority. In the castle, K is trying to get permission from the castle to work in the village. I can see the castle. It's right there on the hill, but every time he tries to reach it, something gets in the way. An official who isn't available, a letter that never arrives, a road that seems shorter than it is. In Minecraft, this is trying to find a stronghold with no eyes of Ender and no coordinates. You know it exists. The game confirms it exists, but the world gives you no straight line to it. The second is transformation without explanation. Kafka's most famous story, The Metamorphosis, begins with a man waking up as a giant insect. No reason is given. No one asks why. His family is just inconvenient. In Minecraft, this is the moment a creeper silently appears behind you and your entire inventory, base, items, and chests are gone. No cutscene, no explanation. The world changed, and now you have to deal with it. The third is the absurdity of effort. Kafka's characters work incredibly hard. They fill out forms, they attend hearings, they write letters, they ask questions, and none of it matters. Not because they're doing it wrong, but because the system is not designed to produce results. It is designed to produce more system. In Minecraft, it would be that you want to take the villagers to your base, but while you are making the path with rails, it becomes night, you don't even think about it. The villagers die at the hands of the zombies. And when you go to get them, that village no longer exists. The villagers have despawned. Ask yourselves, when something completely absurd happens to you, a fine for a thing you didn't do, a rule that makes no sense, a rejection with no reason, what is your first instinct? Do you assume there must be a logic you're missing? That if you just found the right person or filled out the right form, it would all resolve? That somewhere there is a correct answer and you just haven't found it yet? Because that instinct, that belief that the system is secretly coherent and you are the one who doesn't understand it, is exactly what Kafka is diagnosing. His characters are not stupid, they are optimists. And Kafka, who was many things but not an optimist, found that the most tragic thing of all. What's interesting, and I'll try not to go too far down this road because I'll lose the thread, is that Camus read Kafka and arrived at almost the opposite conclusion. Camus looked at the same absurdity and said, fine, the world has no meaning and doesn't owe you one. So what? Build anyway. Punch the tree, place the block, imagine Sisyphus happy and all that. Kafka never quite got there. there. He kept writing, he kept his manuscripts, and then he asked his best friend Max Brod to burn all of them after he died. Brod didn't, which means the entire Kafka we know, the trial, the castle, the metamorphosis, and exists because someone disobeyed a dying man's last wish. There's something very Kafkaesque about that. Kafka would probably agree and also be furious. I won't go deeper into Camus here because that's a whole other video, and honestly comparing them properly requires reading both carefully, which takes a while. Camus is cleaner, easier to summarize, more fun at parties. Kafka is harder and kind of ugly, and I mean that as a compliment.